Today we'll listen to a story about an Ernalminkya who lost his memory, and when he got it back, was involved in an incredible story. Let's get started. I always thought my life was predictable. I had built it that way. Structured, organized, under control. As a real estate agent, I knew the value of stability. My house was perfect, my career was thriving, and my wife, Lena, was everything I could ever want. Until the night she disappeared. She was supposed to come home after dinner with a friend. But midnight passed. Then 2 a.m. Still no call, no message. At first, I told myself not to overreact. Maybe she stayed over at her friend's place. Maybe her phone had died. But as the hours crawled by, a quiet panic settled in. At 4:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. Relief flooded through me, until I saw the message. You forgot what you promised me. But I didn't forget. Find me, if you can. The number was blocked. I sat up in bed, my heart hammering. What the hell did that mean? My first instinct was to call Lena, but her number went straight to voicemail. My second instinct was to drive to her friend's house. 30 minutes later, I was standing on the porch of Mia's apartment, knocking furiously. She answered in her pajamas, bleary-eyed. Jack? It's 4 a.m. What? Is Lena here? Mia frowned. Number she left around 11. Said she was heading home. I felt a cold weight settle in my stomach. She never made it home, I said. Mia's expression shifted from confusion to concern. Wait, what? Have you called the police? Not yet. Not before I understood what was really going on. I showed her the message. She read it, then looked at me, her face pale. This doesn't sound like Lena. I agreed, and that terrified me. By sunrise, I was back home, pacing my kitchen, trying to piece everything together. Where had she gone? Who had sent that message? And more importantly, what was it I was supposed to have promised? I started digging. First, I checked her closet. Nothing seemed missing. Her suitcase was still there, her jewelry untouched. But when I checked her desk, I found something strange. Her laptop was gone. Lena never took her laptop anywhere. That's when the thought hit me. What if she didn't leave? What if she ran? I pulled up our bank records. That's when I found something even stranger. A transaction from 3 weeks ago. A large sum of money transferred from our joint account to a name I didn't recognize. A name that would lead me to a place I never knew existed. And a secret that had been hiding in plain sight all along. I stared at the bank transaction, my brain racing. Who the hell is Emily Carter? That was the name on the transfer. 20 grand. 3 weeks ago. And the weirdest part? The account was still active. I grabbed my phone and ran a quick search. No social media. No public records. Just a name that meant nothing to me. But it meant something to Lena. I took a deep breath, trying to think straight. If she was in trouble, why didn't she just tell me? And if she wasn't, then what the hell was she doing sneaking money out of our account? I needed more. So I did something I never thought I'd have to do. I tracked my own wife. Lena wasn't sloppy. If she had a secret, she'd buried it deep. But no one hides everything. I started with our home security system, pulled up the logs. I wanted to know exactly when she left. 3:12 a.m., way after her dinner with Mia. And here's the thing. She didn't leave in her car. No movement on the driveway, which meant someone picked her up. Or she left on foot. My stomach twisted. What was I even looking for? A clue? A reason? A sign that my wife hadn't just walked out of our life like it meant nothing? I needed fresh air. I stepped outside, the cold morning air hitting me like a slap. The street was quiet. Normal. Except it wasn't, because something caught my eye. Down the street, parked just out of view of our house cameras, was a car. A black sedan. Windows tinted. engine off, sitting there, watching. My pulse spiked. I took a step forward. The car pulled away. Not fast, not panicked, just gone. Like it had been there long enough, like it had seen what it came to see. I didn't know what the hell was happening. But I knew one thing. Lena wasn't just missing. She was running from something. And now, so was I. I stood there, watching the black sedan disappear around the corner, my fists clenched. That wasn't normal. Someone had been watching my house. And now they knew I'd noticed. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. Back inside, I grabbed my laptop and pulled up our bank records again. Emily Carter. The name nagged at me, like a word stuck on the tip of my tongue. I tried calling the bank, playing dumb. Hey, my wife made a transfer a few weeks ago, but I think she messed up the account number. Can you tell me where the money went? No luck. Privacy laws. So I tried something riskier. A friend of mine, Logan, worked in cybersecurity. He owed me a favor. I sent him a text. Need a name traced. No questions asked. He called me 5 minutes later. Jack, man, this is shady as hell, Logan said, typing in the background. You in trouble? Not yet, I muttered. But I might be. He sighed. All right, give me a sec. Okay, so this Emily Carter account? It's linked to an apartment lease. Some fancy place downtown. I frowned. You're sure? Positive. And here's the weird part. It was leased under your wife's name. My stomach dropped. Lena had rented a whole damn apartment and never said a word. I checked the address. 15 minutes away. I grabbed my keys. The apartment building was sleek, high-end, the kind of place people went to disappear. I walked through the lobby like I belonged, ignoring the receptionist, heading straight for the elevators. 12th floor. The hallway was empty. I found the door. Apartment 1204. I knocked. Nothing. Knocked again. Lena? Silence. I checked the doorknob. Locked. But here's the thing. I sold houses for a living. I knew locks, and I knew how to get around them. I took out my wallet, pulled a thin metal card I used for jamming stiff lock mechanisms, and slid it between the door frame. Click. The door opened, and that's when I saw it. The apartment wasn't empty. It was lived in. Clothes in the closet. Half-drunk coffee on the counter. An open laptop on the table. This wasn't a secret hideout. This was home. Lena hadn't been missing. She'd been living a whole other life. I stepped inside, heart hammering. The apartment smelled like her. That soft vanilla scent she always wore. But there was something else beneath it. Something sharper. A scent I couldn't place. The place wasn't just lived in. It was actively lived in. A fresh cup of coffee on the counter. A book open on the couch like someone had just put it down. The bed? Unmade. Lena had been here. Recently. And she hadn't expected me to find it. I shut the door behind me and moved through the space, my mind racing. Why the hell would she need a second apartment? I checked the fridge. Fully stocked. Her favorite almond milk on the shelf. A bottle of white wine, half empty, but only one wine glass in the sink. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Then I saw something that made my stomach clench. A small photo frame on the nightstand. I walked over, picked it up. It was me and Lena. Except I didn't remember taking this photo. Ever. I was smiling, arm around her, but something was off. My hair was shorter and I looked younger. The date written on the frame said 2015, 7 years ago, before we even met. I stared at the picture, my pulse pounding in my ears. This didn't make sense. Then I heard it. A footstep. Behind me. I spun around just as a voice whispered, "Jack, why did you follow me?" I froze. Lena stood in the doorway. alive, breathing, staring at me like I was the one who had disappeared. And in that moment, I knew, whatever was happening here, whatever she had been hiding, it wasn't just about her. It was about me. I couldn't breathe. Lena stood there, looking at me like I was the ghost, like I was the one who had vanished. I took a step closer, gripping the photo in my hand. Lena, what the hell is this? I held it up. This picture, this date, 2015? We didn't even meet until 2016. Her face went pale, but she didn't look surprised. She looked scared. You shouldn't be here, Jack, she whispered. My blood ran cold. Shouldn't be here? I repeated. Lena, are you hearing yourself? My wife disappears in the middle of the night. I get some cryptic message, and then I find out she has a whole damn apartment I never knew about. And now you're telling me I shouldn't be here? She swallowed hard, eyes darting past me toward the door, like she was waiting for someone. Or something. I took another step. Talk to me. What the hell is going on? She exhaled shakily, rubbing her arms like she was freezing. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. I didn't leave, Jack. You did. Silence. I stared at her, my mind scrambling to make sense of the words. What? Her lips parted like she wanted to say more, but then she froze. Eyes locked on something behind me. I turned fast, every muscle tensed. The apartment door was slightly open, and in the hallway stood a man, tall, dressed in black, face shadowed by the dim light, watching us. My instincts kicked in. I lunged for the door, but he was already gone. The only thing left was a single slip of paper on the floor. I picked it up, unfolded it with shaking hands. One sentence, handwritten. You promised to forget. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. Lena's voice was barely above a whisper. Jack, they know. My pulse hammered in my ears. They know, I repeated, gripping the note so tightly my knuckles turned white. Who the hell is they, Lena? She hesitated, just for a second. But that second told me everything. She knew. She knew exactly what was happening. And she was terrified to tell me. I stepped closer. No more games. No more cryptic messages. No more running. Start talking. She looked at me, her chest rising and falling with shaky breaths. Then, finally, You don't remember, do you? She murmured. Remember what? Her gaze flicked to the photo still clutched in my hand. The one from 2015. The one that shouldn't exist. You were supposed to forget, she whispered. We both were. I shook my head. Forget what, Lena? She took a deep breath. And when she spoke again, her voice was barely above a whisper. The first time we met. My stomach clenched. I opened my mouth to argue, to say that we met at a real estate conference in 2016, that we had our first date at that little Italian restaurant downtown, that I knew every detail of how our lives started together. But then, I hesitated, because suddenly something felt wrong, like a puzzle piece that never quite fit, no matter how hard you forced it, like a memory that should be clear as day, but wasn't. I knew we met in 2016. I was sure of it. But the more I tried to picture that moment, the exact words we said, the clothes she wore, the way her hair fell over her shoulder, the blurrier it became. Like my brain was fighting me. Like I wasn't just forgetting. I was made to forget. I swallowed hard. Lena, what did we do? She didn't answer, because at that moment, the lights in the apartment cut out. A second later, the door slammed shut, and then from the darkness, a voice, low, amused. You shouldn't have come back, Jack. A chill shot down my spine. That voice. It wasn't just the words. It was the familiarity in them. Like whoever was standing in the darkness knew me. Really knew me. I reached for my phone, but before I could turn on the flashlight, a hand grabbed my wrist. Lena's. Cold. Shaking. "Don't," she whispered. "If they see the light, they'll know we're still here." "They," I whispered back. "Who the hell are they, Lena?" No answer. Just a sharp pull as she dragged me backward through the dark. My heart pounded as I let her lead me, listening for movement. Footsteps, breathing, anything, silence. Then, a click. The room flooded with dim bluish light. Not from the overhead bulbs, those were still out. No, this glow came from something else, something across the room. I turned my head and felt my stomach drop. A laptop screen. Open. Waiting. A video file sat in the center of the screen, already queued up. "Play me." I glanced at Lena. She looked frozen, her face pale. "You know what this is, don't you?" I asked. She swallowed hard. Then, slowly, almost reluctantly, she nodded. "Jack," she whispered. "Whatever happens next, just remember." "Remember what?" She didn't answer. She just reached forward and clicked play. The video. At first, static. A flickering screen. Then, a room. Dimly lit. A metal table. A single chair. A man sat in that chair, hands resting on the table, fingers interlocked. His face was in shadow, but something about the way he sat. The shape of him. A sick feeling curled in my gut. Then he leaned forward, into the light. And I stopped breathing. Because the man on the screen was me. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. The man on the screen, me, stared straight into the camera. His face was thinner than mine, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. But it was still me. Same sharp jawline. Same scar above my left eyebrow from when I fell off my bike as a kid. "What the hell is this?" I whispered. Lena didn't answer. Her nails dug into her arms, her breathing shallow. On the screen, Jack Crawford, the other me, finally spoke. "If you're watching this," he said, voice hoarse, "then it means you didn't listen." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Jack," Lena whispered, gripping my sleeve. "We shouldn't." I raised a hand to silence her. I needed to hear this. Video me exhaled shakily. "I don't have much time. They'll wipe this soon. But I need to tell you the truth before it's gone. Before you're gone." I stiffened. Gone? The screen flickered. A date appeared in the top corner. August 17th, 2015. The same date from the photo. The same date I had no memory of. My mouth went dry. Video me leaned closer. His eyes, my eyes, looked desperate. "You don't remember that day, do you?" he said. "They made sure of that. They erased it. But they didn't erase me." I felt my hands start to shake. "This isn't possible," I muttered. Lena's grip tightened. "Jack, please, we need to go. If they know you've seen this," but I barely heard her, because video me kept talking. "You need to find the key," he said. "It's the only way to unlock what they took from you. The only way to remember what you promised to forget." I frowned. The key. Then, for the first time, he looked directly at Lena. "And if she's still with you," he said, "then you need to ask yourself one question." I swallowed. "What question?" I whispered. The screen flickered again. The video began to distort. His face twisted, pixels breaking apart. But his last words came through, low, clear, chilling. "Can you really trust her?" The screen cut to black. And behind us, the apartment door burst open. The door slammed open with a force that rattled the walls. Lena gasped and yanked me backward, her nails digging into my wrist. My brain was still reeling from the video, from my words. Can you really trust her? But I had no time to think. Footsteps, fast, heavy. Someone was coming. Lena, move, she hissed, pulling me toward the side door leading to the fire escape. I barely had time to react before she shoved it open and dragged me outside. Cold air, city lights, a long drop below. Go, she whispered, shoving me toward the metal stairs. I hesitated for a split second. Then, a gunshot. Glass shattered behind us, spraying outward like a violent explosion of diamonds. No more hesitation. I bolted. The chase flew down the fire escape, metal rattling under our feet. Another gunshot rang out, slamming into the railing inches from my hand. They're trying to kill me? I hissed. Lena didn't answer. Her breath was ragged as she leapt down another flight. They can't let you remember. Who the hell are they? She didn't get the chance to answer, because as we reached the second floor, a black SUV screeched to a halt below. Doors burst open. Men in suits. Guns drawn. Shit. I skidded to a stop, my mind racing. Trapped. Above us. Shooters. Below. Agents. I turned to Lena. Ideas? She looked around frantically. Then, her eyes locked on the neighboring building. A balcony. About 6 feet away. And I instantly knew what she was thinking. You've got to be kidding me, I muttered. Jump, she ordered. Before I could argue, she ran full speed and launched herself off the edge. My breath caught. But she made it. Barely. Landing hard, grabbing the railing to steady herself. I looked down. The men were aiming. I cursed. Then I ran. 1 step, 2 steps. Jump. Mid-air. No ground beneath me. Then, impact. I slammed onto the balcony, my ribs nearly cracking against the railing as I caught myself. Another gunshot. Sparks flew off the metal. Inside, Lena yelled, already kicking open the sliding door. We tumbled into a dark apartment, crashing onto the floor. Footsteps thundered behind us. Lena yanked me up, sprinting through the living room. We burst through the front door, hitting the hallway at full speed. Behind us, I heard the men forcing their way inside. Where are we going? I gasped. Somewhere safe. Define safe. She didn't answer. She just ran. We raced down the dimly lit hallway, our footsteps pounding against the worn-out carpet. My lungs burned. My ribs ached from the impact of that balcony landing, but I couldn't slow down. Behind us, I heard voices. Shouting. Heavy boots pounding against the floor. They're coming, I hissed. Lena skidded to a stop at the end of the hall, eyes darting left and right. Stairwell or elevator? I shot her a look. Elevator? You want to trap us in a metal box? Fine. Stairs. She shouldered the door open and we plunged downward. The stairwell was narrow and dimly lit, the kind of place where every sound echoed like a gunshot. And right now, the sounds behind us were getting closer. Jack. I know. I pushed myself to go faster, taking the steps 2 at a time. My mind was racing. Who the hell were these guys? Government? Private security? Or a third option, the one I didn't want to consider. What if they were connected to me? To whatever memory had been erased. We hit the ground floor and burst into the lobby. A few people turned to stare. An old security guard blinked at us from behind the desk, but no one had time to react before we were out the side exit and into the freezing night air. Lena grabbed my arm and yanked me into a narrow alley. Dark. Wet. Trash piled up against the walls. Keep moving, she whispered. We ran through the maze of back streets, cutting across intersections, slipping through alleys. The city was alive around us. Cars honking, people laughing, music blaring from bars. But in this moment, it all felt distant. I risked a glance back. No sign of them. Yet. Lena pulled me toward a parked motorcycle. I frowned. You ride? She pulled a set of keys from her pocket and smirked. You don't know everything about me, Jack. That much was clear. She climbed on, and I barely had time to swing my leg over before she gunned the engine, roaring to life. Then we were off. The bike sliced through the streets, weaving between cars, speeding through intersections. I gripped Lena's waist tightly, my mind still catching up. Where are we going? I shouted over the wind. A safe house. Whose? Mine. I narrowed my eyes. You have a safe house? She didn't answer, just twisted the throttle and pushed the bike even faster. I exhaled sharply. Right, of course she had a safe house, because apparently my wife, the woman I'd been married to for 7 years, was not who I thought she was. And the more I learned, the more I realized. Neither was I. The city lights blurred into streaks of white and red as we raced through the streets. My fingers were digging into Lena's waist, but she didn't seem to notice or care. Every time I thought I had a grip on reality, it shifted again. Lena had a safe house. Lena knew how to ride a motorcycle. Lena had been hiding something from me for years. And the worst part? So had I. The words from that video kept replaying in my head. This isn't the first time you've forgotten. Forgotten what? I clenched my jaw. No time to unpack that now. Right now, we had to survive. The safe house, after what felt like an eternity of cutting through back streets and side roads, Lena finally pulled off into a quiet neighborhood. No traffic. No flashing lights. Just rows of small houses, dim porch lights glowing in the cold night air. She slowed the bike and turned into a narrow alley. At the end of it, she stopped in front of what looked like an abandoned garage. This is it, she said, killing the engine. I slid off the bike, my legs shaky from the ride. You sure? Because this looks like a place where people get murdered in horror movies. She ignored me, pulled out a key, and unlocked a rusted metal door. Get inside. I followed her in, glancing around. The inside was nothing like the outside. A couch. A desk with multiple laptops and monitors. A kitchenette stocked with food. Weapons mounted on the wall. And, I frowned, stepping toward a pinboard covered in photos, notes, and maps. My name was written on several pieces of paper. What the hell is this? I muttered. Lena locked the door behind us. Your life, Jack. I turned to face her. You want to explain that? She sighed, running a hand through her hair. I will, but first, she grabbed a small black device from the table. Give me your phone. I hesitated. Jack. Why? Because they're tracking you. I didn't ask who they were. Didn't need to. I pulled my phone from my pocket and handed it over. She tossed it into a metal box and shut the lid. A faint humming noise filled the air. Signal jammer, she explained. They won't find us now. I exhaled slowly. Great. Now maybe you can start explaining why my wife has a secret hideout and a wall full of conspiracy shit with my name on it. Lena folded her arms. Jack, you don't remember, but this isn't the first time we've been here. I stared at her. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I swallowed. What do you mean? She met my eyes. You've been running from the truth for a long time. I felt something cold crawl up my spine. And it's time you finally face it. The room felt like it was closing in on me. Lena's words echoed in my head. You've been running from the truth for a long time. My pulse hammered against my ribs. What truth? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she moved to the pinboard, pulling off a photo. It was a picture of me, but not one I remembered taking. In it, I looked younger. My hair was shorter, my face a little leaner. But the most unsettling part? I was standing next to a man I didn't recognize. Who is this? I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. Lena studied me carefully. Then, slowly, she handed me another piece of paper, A letter. The handwriting was mine. Jack, if you're reading this, then it means you've forgotten again. It means they found you. And it means you don't have much time. The breath hitched in my throat. What the hell is this? Lena crossed her arms. You wrote that letter, Jack. I shook my head. No, this is some kind of... Listen to me. Her voice was firm but calm. That man in the photo? His name is Nathan Carter, and he wasn't just some random guy. He was your partner. I frowned. Partner? In real estate? Lena let out a humorless chuckle. No, Jack, not in real estate. Something cold settled in my stomach. You weren't a real estate agent, she said. That was just your cover. I let out a short laugh. Yeah, okay, so what? I was a secret agent? Like Jason Bourne? Her eyes didn't waver. Not exactly, but close enough. I wanted to tell her she was crazy. I wanted to argue. But deep down, something in me clicked. Memories I didn't quite understand pressed at the edges of my mind. Fragments of places I didn't remember visiting. A voice in my head whispering that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't lying. You worked with Nathan for years, Lena continued. You two were part of a classified project. A project that went wrong. I took a shaky breath. What kind of project? Her jaw tensed. One that involved memory suppression. I froze. She held up the letter again. You knew they'd come after you. So you erased everything. You built a new life, a safe life. And then... She hesitated. And then what? I demanded. She exhaled. And then you met me. Silence. My mind was spinning. You mean our entire marriage was real, she interrupted. But I knew who you were before you knew me. And when I realized your memory was wiped, I had two choices. Tell you the truth and risk them finding us, or protect you from it. I swallowed hard. And now? Her expression darkened. Now they already know where you are. A sharp bang sounded outside. My heart stopped. Lena grabbed a gun off the table and tossed me another. Jack, she said, voice low. If you want to live, you need to start remembering. Now. Loud. Close. My fingers curled around the gun Lena tossed me. It felt familiar. Too familiar. My body reacted faster than my mind, flipping off the safety, moving toward the nearest wall for cover. Lena crouched beside me, whispering, They found us faster than I thought. My breath was steady, but my thoughts were chaos. Who the hell were they? And why did my body know how to handle this before my brain could even catch up? Outside, footsteps crunched against gravel. Shadows passed by the narrow window. Then, a voice. Low. Male. Cold. Come on out, Jack. We don't want to make this messy. Lena's grip on her gun tightened. She looked at me. We have two options. Fight or escape. But either way, you need to trust me. Trust. The word hit harder than the reality of the situation. Because how the hell could I trust someone who'd been lying to me for years? But the thing was, I did. I didn't know why. I just did. I gave her a small nod. What's the plan? Lena glanced around the room, thinking fast. Then she moved toward a small metal hatch in the floor, pulling it open. A tunnel, she whispered. It leads 2 blocks down. We use it. We escape. I nodded, but the moment we moved, crash. The window shattered. A smoke canister landed inside, hissing out thick white gas. Lena cursed. They're flushing us out. No time for tunnels now. A figure appeared in the smoke, gun raised. My body reacted before my brain. I fired, twice. The man dropped without a sound. Lena didn't even flinch. Looks like we're fighting after all. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the back exit. More gunfire erupted behind us. The air was thick with smoke, making it hard to see. We burst out into the alley. Cold air. Open space. Freedom. But not for long. 3 men were already there, waiting. Lena barely hesitated. She kicked the nearest one in the knee, grabbed his gun, and shot the second before he could react. The third lunged at me. Instinct took over. One punch to his throat, another to his ribs. He staggered. I grabbed his own gun and cracked it against his skull. He went down. Lena stared at me. Yeah, you're definitely starting to remember. I didn't answer. Because the terrifying part? She was right. But before I could process it, a black SUV screeched into the alley, headlights blinding us. Lena's face went pale. "Run," she whispered. Then the doors opened, and everything went to hell. The SUV doors swung open, and men in black tactical gear stepped out. No hesitation, no warnings, just guns raised and ready. Lena grabbed my wrist, yanking me sideways just as bullets ripped through the air. We hit the ground hard, rolling behind a dumpster as metal clanged from the impacts. "Any bright ideas?" I rasped. Lena's jaw clenched. "Yeah, don't die." Great plan. Footsteps rushed toward us. No time to think, just move. I grabbed the nearest trash can and shoved it into the first guy's legs. He stumbled, and Lena took the opening. 2 clean shots to the chest. The second guy swung his rifle toward me. Something clicked in my head. Before he could fire, I lunged, grabbing his gun barrel and twisting hard. His finger pulled the trigger, but the shot went wild. My knee came up, smashing into his gut. Muscle memory. Reflex. This wasn't the first time I'd done this. Lena shot the last guy before he could react. The alley fell silent except for the ringing in my ears. I exhaled, wiping sweat off my forehead. "We need to go. Now." Lena nodded, already scanning the street. "We need a car." We ran toward the main road, but the moment we stepped out, tires screeched. Another black SUV pulled up, cutting us off. And this time, the man who stepped out wasn't just some faceless goon. He was the man from the photo. Nathan Carter. The guy I was supposedly partners with. The guy I had no memory of. He looked me over with a smirk. "Still quick on your feet, Jack. Guess the memory wipe didn't slow you down too much." I felt a sharp pain in my skull, like something struggling to surface. "Lucky me," I muttered. Nathan sighed, like he was disappointed. "I was hoping we could do this the easy way." "Yeah?" Lena shot back. "Funny, the easy way usually doesn't involve bullets." Nathan chuckled. "Fair point, but let's be honest, Jack was never going to come willingly." He took a step forward. "We need to talk, Jack, before you make another mistake." I gripped my gun tighter. "Oh, you mean like trusting you?" Nathan's smirk faded. "You don't remember, do you?" Something flickered in his eyes. Not anger. Something close to regret. "You're chasing the wrong truth," he said. "And if you keep going down this road, you're not gonna like what you find." I swallowed. My instinct screamed that he was dangerous. But another part wasn't so sure. Lena's fingers brushed mine. A silent message. "We need to move." Nathan sighed again. "Well, I tried." Then he nodded toward his men. Guns raised, fingers on triggers. I took a deep breath. Time to fight. The street exploded with gunfire. Lena yanked me sideways, and we hit the pavement hard. A bullet whizzed past my ear. My heartbeat slammed against my ribs, but my hands were steady as I raised my gun and fired back. Nathan's men scattered, ducking behind cars and dumpsters. Lena and I sprinted for cover. We dove behind a parked sedan, glass shattering as bullets tore through the windshield. She reloaded. "We need to get the hell out of here." "No kidding," I muttered. Nathan stood in the open, completely calm, watching us like he already knew how this would end. Then he did something weird. He lowered his gun and yelled over the gunfire. "Jack, you still don't get it, do you?" I fired another shot at one of his men. "Oh, I get it. You want me dead." Nathan laughed. Actually laughed. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be in the ground. I need you to remember." Lena swore. "Jack, don't listen to him." Another bang, but this time it wasn't a gunshot. A car alarm blared as a bullet hit the hood. Someone yelled. Then I heard sirens. Red and blue lights flashed in the distance. Cops. Nathan's men hesitated. "Fall back," he ordered. "Now!" They peeled away fast, piling back into their SUVs. Nathan lingered just a second longer, locking eyes with me. "You need to ask yourself something, Jack," he said, backing toward the car. "Are you really the hero in this story?" Then he was gone. I barely had time to process that before Lena grabbed my wrist. "Move. We don't want to be here when the cops show up." We ran. Hard. Through alleys, over fences, never looking back. By the time we stopped, we were miles away, panting in a dark parking garage. I pressed my hands to my knees, catching my breath. Lena leaned against the wall, watching me carefully. "You okay?" I met her gaze and asked the only question that mattered. "Lena, what the hell did I forget?" She exhaled slowly. Then, finally, she told me. Lena hesitated, her eyes flicking away for just a second. That was all it took for my stomach to tighten. "Just tell me," I said. "No more games." She sighed. "All right, but you're not gonna like it." I crossed my arms, waiting. She took a breath. "Jack, you weren't just some random real estate guy. You—" She stopped, shaking her head. "No, scratch that. You were, but that was just your cover." I frowned. "My what?" She looked me dead in the eye. "You used to work with Nathan, and not just as his friend. You two were partners." I let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "In what? Selling houses?" She didn't smile. No, that was the moment I saw it. The pity in her eyes. "Jack, you and Nathan worked black ops." The words hit like a punch to the gut. I shook my head. "Number that's. Number I would know." "Would you?" she challenged. "Think about it. The muscle memory, the way you handled those guys, the way you react under fire. That's not something you just pick up from watching action movies." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. Number no way. I was just Jack Crawford, real estate guy. A normal life, a normal wife, a normal— Lena's voice softened. "You weren't always Jack." Silence stretched between us. My pulse pounded in my ears. And deep down, I knew she wasn't lying. Something inside me had always felt off. Like I was trying to fit into a life that wasn't really mine. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling sharply. "All right, let's say I believe you. What happened? Why don't I remember?" Lena hesitated again, and that hesitation scared me more than the bullets. "Because, Jack," she finally whispered, "you erased your own memories."